Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Marissa. I am a mum of 5. Today's video is going to be all about breastfeeding and what to expect when you are a new breastfeeding mum or a first-time mum. If you have breastfed before, trust me, even if this is your second, third or fourth baby, a lot of the time we can forget what is normal and what to expect when breastfeeding, so this can still be helpful for you as well. So I've categorized this video into 3 main areas. The first one is what to expect when breastfeeding, the second is how to latch, and then the third is how to deal with your milk supply, so your undersupply or maybe you have an oversupply of breast milk. I'll also cover how to store milk properly, so let's get into it. So the very first thing I wanted to share is remember that this is the first time that you are breastfeeding your child, so it is completely new to you. But it's not only new to you as a first-time mum, it is also new to baby. So be patient with yourself, give yourself grace, and just be aware that when it comes to feeding your child for the first time or even for the first few weeks, it may take a little bit of time to get used to it and get the hang of it. Let's get into what to expect. Imagine that you have just given birth to your precious little bub. Baby will likely want to feed as soon as they're out because it takes a lot of energy for them to come out of you, just like it takes you a lot of energy to get them out. So once baby is out, if you start noticing breastfeeding cues, those can all be signs and cues that baby is hungry. So pop them on your breast, and that will likely be your first experience feeding baby. I will warn you, once you start feeding baby and each time you do feed them, you may start to experience afterbirth pains. For me, my first 2 babies weren't very painful, but with my 3rd and 4th, they were extremely painful. So make sure that you stock up on Panadol and ibuprofen and keep taking them to help reduce that pain that you will experience. So I wanted to talk about breastfeeding cues because babies are super smart and they will let you know when they are hungry. You want to catch them at the early stages of their cues because once they start crying and get really worked up, it's a lot harder to get them on your breast, especially if they already have trouble with latching. So the early cues are if they are stirring in their sleep, if they are opening their mouth, so they're probably sleeping but they'll be like opening their mouth trying to find your breast, and if they are trying to turn their head, even if their eyes are closed, they are likely trying to look for your breast. So if you notice this with baby, pick them up even if they're asleep, wake them up and pop them on. Let's pretend that you didn't pick up on baby's early cues. They will start doing other things to show you that they are starting to get really hungry. So if they start sucking on their mouth, if they start stretching or moving around, then again, they are likely hungry. The last phase when baby is super hungry is they're going to start crying, they're going to start getting red and worked up. Of course, get baby and try to feed them, but sometimes you will have to calm them down by soothing them and rocking them first in order for you to latch baby on properly. A quick side note that I feel like will really help you guys: if you have fed baby and you know that they are no longer hungry, they have had a good feed, and you have laid them down to go to sleep, if they will not stop crying or they are fussing in their bed, chances are they likely have to burp. Even if I have rubbed baby's back and tried to burp them after each feed, a lot of the time once I lie them down, another burp comes up in them and they wake up and stir. So make sure that you are always burping baby after every single feed, and then they will sleep happily in bed and you can use that time to yourself. Something that I didn't realize with breastfeeding is it can take up a lot of time. So much time that you will struggle having to get a shower in, eat, or go to the toilet in those first 6 weeks of baby's life. So prepare for this. Try to prep meals and put them in the freezer if possible. Order meals that are already made for you. Ask hubby to take off work or hire a cleaner, hire a cook, I don't know. Find help and plan to only breastfeed for those first few weeks of baby's life, because that is the time where baby will just want to be on you to build up your milk supply. Now, just beware, If you feel like baby is always on you and they will not get off, this isn't an indication that you have an undersupply of milk. It doesn't mean that baby isn't getting enough. All it means is that they are trying to build up your milk supply. So don't stress out and feel like your body isn't doing what it has to for baby. But that's just something that I feel like a lot of mums don't realize, and they can stress out and it does more damage than good. So I know I quickly mentioned this just before, but cluster feeding is when baby stays on you for hours at a time and doesn't get off. Sometimes it's throughout the night, other times it's for days at a time. This is normal and expected because it will happen sooner or later. Now, because you are feeding all of the time, just beware that your nipples will hurt. That first 1 to 2 weeks of feeding, because your nipples are not used to having someone sucking on them all the time, they will get sore, and this is actually natural. After the first 2 weeks, that pain should go away. Believe it or not, at the time it may be excruciating and you don't think it will, but it will go away and you won't even notice when they are on you. But if they have a bad latch, then you are going to end up with cracked nipples, bleeding nipples, or you can really damage your nipples if you don't make sure that baby is latched on properly. So before we move on to how to latch baby onto your breast, I just want you to remember that because baby is feeding all the time, they will often doze off to sleep. If this happens, you want to rub their cheek gently to wake them up so that they can continue feeding. Okay, this is so funny, but I am going to now show you guys how to latch a baby. If you do breastfeeding classes in hospital or before you give birth, this is something that you've probably already done, but I'll quickly show you guys here now. Okay, so in order to latch baby, you want to first cradle baby in your arm like this, pop your breast out. Hopefully you have suitable bras for that, but you want to like pinch your whole areola, so not just your nipple. You want to pinch like the end of your boob so that it's easy to get in baby's mouth. Now you want to tilt your nipple upwards so that when you put it in baby's mouth, it sits at the top of their mouth at the back of their throat. So you would rub your nipple on their nose or on their mouth so that they realize you are there and they will open their mouth, and that's when you shove it in. Try and get as much of your areola as you can. So funny saying that word. Try to get as much of it as you can into their mouth, and you want to get it deep. Listen, I have gagged my babies breastfeeding them. You want as much as your breast in there as possible. If you're not latched properly, then it will start being super painful and baby will not be getting the precious milk that they need. Remember to keep baby's body close to you, so don't let it drop. Obviously you can grab a pillow or something to prop baby up so you're nice and comfortable, but you want to keep them close to you, not away, because again, they will be pulling on your nipple if they are too far from you, which will cause damage as well. Something you will discover over time is you can actually feed baby in any position. For the first few weeks of life, it will be easy to hold bub like this, but depending how quickly your baby grows, they can get super big. Some positions that might seem weird that I have actually done before is I have fed baby like this, this is called a football hold. I'll feed them like this. I've even fed my babies lying on my back in bed, and I'll just lie baby on top of me and they can feed that way as well. Whatever feels comfortable for you, feel free to feed them that way. There's no right or wrong way to feed baby as long as their latch is good. If damage does happen to your breast, you do have the option to use nipple shields. They protect your nipple as baby feeds. I personally didn't like them. I found them just as painful as having baby on my damaged breast, but that is an option out there. The other thing with damaged nipples is use breast milk and rub them on there to help speed up the healing process. Breast milk is filled with good stuff. That's why it's called liquid gold. If you have rashes, if baby has pimples on their face, any issue to do with your skin, feel free to express some breast milk and rub it on wherever needs to be rubbed. Now, if feeding still hurts after 30 to 60 seconds of your newborn being on you, you want to de-latch them and try to put them back on again. So to de-latch, you would hook your finger like this, stick it into the side of their mouth while they are on your boob. So hook it in so that they unclamp their mouth, and you'll be able to pull baby off. So let's talk undersupply and oversupply. With my first baby, I had an oversupply of milk. The way you know this is if your breast is still really full and heavy, then you likely have an oversupply of milk. What you want to do is either hand express to help release some of that pressure in your breast, or you can purchase a pump and get more milk out from there as well. If you have an oversupply, you don't want to pump for long periods of time. You just want to pump for a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes after each feed, to help release your breasts. The problem is if you pump for too long when you have an oversupply of milk, you may end up building up even more milk in the end. So you don't want to do that. Unless you do, then by all means go ahead. You can build up your breast milk supply in your freezer, but just beware of that. So if you have an oversupply, don't waste that milk. Store it in the freezer, in the fridge, and use it for times when you end up going out and you want to leave baby with someone else, or when baby is a bit older and you've weaned them off, you can go back to your milk supply in the fridge and continue feeding them bottles but using that breast milk that you stored. So in regards to milk storage, you can keep your breast milk at room temperature for up to 6 hours. I'm on the Gold Coast and it can get pretty hot, so make sure it is not a really hot day. If it is, you probably don't want to leave it out for longer than an hour or two. For me, I always froze my breast milk as soon as I had pumped it, and if I needed to defrost that milk, I would pull it out of the freezer, stick it in a cup of lukewarm water, and within an hour that breast milk would already be defrosted. To heat it up, I would boil the kettle and then pour some water into a mug. I would pop the breast milk bag into that hot water and let it sit there for 1 to 2 minutes. After the first minute, it's honestly warm enough for baby to drink. If you want to keep milk in the fridge, it can stay in the back of the fridge for up to 4 days and it will be fine, but you want to use that breast milk up as soon as possible because it does start changing over time. And if you freeze your breast milk, you can keep it in the freezer for up to 6 months. The breast milk bags that you can purchase from your local grocery store, they will have date and time on them, and that's where you will write down in a permanent marker the date and time that you are freezing it, so that you know how long that breast milk is good for once you've defrosted it. With an oversupply of milk, you will have a higher chance of contracting mastitis, and that is when your breasts get full and they start getting hot and you can start to feel sick as well. If you start feeling really flustered and get a temperature and your breasts have a lot of lumps in them, you likely have mastitis. So if you want to avoid getting this, prevention is always the best way. You want to be massaging your breasts constantly, especially when you are in the shower. Turn up the heat in the shower, let it run over your chest, and you want to massage those lumps out. It will be a little bit sore, but it will be a lot less painful than mastitis if you do end up getting it. The other thing is you don't want to let baby sleep through the night, and this goes for any newborn. When they are first born, yes, they are super tired, but you cannot let baby sleep for longer than 3 hours in those first 6 weeks of life. They can gain weight super quickly, but they can also lose weight super quickly, which can be dangerous when they are that small. So if baby has been sleeping for longer than 3 hours, go in and gently wake them up and then feed them again, because that will not only help you have a good supply of milk and keep it up, but it will also allow baby to continue growing at the rate that they should be growing. Alright, so now let's talk undersupply. With my first son, I did have an oversupply of milk, but after I got my breast done, I could still successfully breastfeed. Everything was fine. The only thing is I didn't have an oversupply of milk. With a few of my babies, they did lose a bit of weight as the days went on after their birth, and the midwives did encourage me to pump to bring in more milk. This is what they're going to encourage you to do if baby is continuing to lose weight after they are born. So expect this. If you do have an undersupply, you may need to go out and either purchase formula or purchase a breast pump to supplement baby's feeding and make sure that they are gaining weight. For me, I have supplemented with formula, and I've also bought a breast pump to try and increase my milk supply naturally as well. When it comes to pumping, if you have an undersupply, don't be alarmed if while you are pumping no milk comes out. Pumping is not an accurate representation of how much milk baby is getting. A lot of the time feeding them naturally, they will get more milk that way opposed to pumping. Another reason why you may have a bit of an undersupply with your breast milk is if you are not eating or drinking enough. Remember, it takes a lot of energy for your body to produce breast milk, and breast milk is also 90% water. Make sure that you are always hydrated. You want to be drinking at least 3 to 4 liters of water a day. Don't stress out if you don't get that in every day. I don't think I ever did. As long as you are drinking as much water as you can, your breast milk supply will be fine. In regards to eating, you don't want to be eating all that processed packaged crap that you buy in the aisles at the grocery store. Make sure that you are eating a healthy, balanced diet. So you want to include carbs, fats, healthy proteins, and a ton of fiber to help your body produce the milk that it needs to. If you're breastfeeding, it is not the right time to start going on a diet or trying to lose weight and setting goals. Of course, exercise and eat healthy to be healthy, but if you cut your calories too low, then you will struggle with your milk supply as well. If you're watching this video, let me know in the comments below, are you a first-time mum watching this, or are you a mum who has multiple babies? Let me know how many kids you have. Hopefully all of this information has given you a bit more peace of mind when it comes to your breastfeeding journey. If you're interested, I will leave the video called Newborn Essentials down here. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. If you guys have any video ideas or questions, pop them in the comments down below. Thanks. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.